because you never know what you're gonna get. It's Friday here on Grounded.
What day is it? Friday?
It's Friday.
All right. Sweet. I was listening to Whitney at the same time not listening to Whitney. Producer Whitney. We were just doing photos the other day so that now when people go to the Facebook page, because it's changing to timeline format, everything,
Sure.
that you can see all of us
Yeah.
in the picture. Yeah. It was funny because Bo, our graphics designer, had funny pictures of Whitney in a bunch of the different things, and I think I chose serious instead. Yeah.
I wish Bo could have touched me up a little bit. I could use some airbrushing.
He did that to me on a book cover recently.
He did?
Yeah.
Why didn't he do that to
it was
me
on
for the
someone
header?
else. It was on somebody else's book cover, and I was like,
I looked at the photo and I was like, I have a triple chin.
Tell him to fix it. He will.
Gotta get in there with the airbrush. Photoshop me, Bo.
I'm trying to figure out who you look like now.
With the mustache?
You look like a cop.
I need the big mirror sunglasses, and I would definitely be able to pull that off. I don't know if the mustache is going to stay. If people are watching this on video,
keep it for a while.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a chance.
It's This Week in Politics, which is actually this few weeks in politics. I'm Ryan Dobbs with Tobenheim, and in studio, our friend Alex McFarland.
Yay!
Hello, Ryan.
How's it
Hello,
going?
Tobin. It's going great.
Glad you're here.
Hey, man, I'm so honored to be here. I've got to ask you, on the intro music, is that you on the drums?
I wish. No, that is Questlove from the Roots crew.
Yeah.
He's an amazing drummer, ridiculous drummer.
I hear you.
It's nice of you to ask, though.
Well, I
that's
saw
Jimmy Fallon's house band as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Isn't he funny?
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Fallon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever heard him imitate Neil Young?
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
It's spot on.
It is. It is definitely spot on. No, I love Fallon. The very first program that he did, he had De Niro on, and it was really not a great program because De Niro's not a big talker.
Right.
He kind of gives the 1- and 2-word answers.
Sure.
And it was funny to see Fallon just start sweating, and he'd be like, "So, you're from Tribeca?" Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just
We've all done this kind of interviews. But I saw drumsticks in your office, and I wondered if you played the drums.
A little bit.
Yeah?
A little bit, yeah.
Cool.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm more of a dashboard drummer.
But hey, I have gotten some pretty good riffs out of my dashboard, too.
I do regularly.
You should carry the sticks in your car, man. Just drum. On the steering wheel.
Or the hairbrush on the steering wheel can do a pretty good snare drum.
Yes, I like how you're thinking.
No. You see how long my hair is. There's no brush.
But you have a daughter now, so there will be hairbrushes.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
I got a wife. There are hairbrushes.
All
right,
just
let's
for the record.
Let's jump into the politics.
All
Otherwise,
right.
we're not going to get. We don't have that much time in the studio. So producer Whitney is urging me
forward
to get down to business. We talked Monday with Warren Cole Smith about Sandra Fluke and the right to free contraception.
Yeah.
That seriously, I don't know where in the Constitution that is. Maybe that's in the pursuit of happiness. Maybe life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Maybe she feels that her definition of pursuit of happiness means sleeping around, and she should have free But even that, that's not contraceptive.
I'm holding the U.S. Constitution in my hand, and I read it this morning in preparation for this show.
Does the Constitution have condoms in it, or the pill?
No.
No?
I don't see a right to contraception. I don't see a right to abortion. Although that was handed to us via a Supreme Court decision, but I read the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all 27 amendments this morning, and the right to contraception, and we and institutions pay for it and provide it. It's not in here. Interesting.
Yeah. I love how
dare the Founding Fathers not include that?
Nancy Pelosi convened her own hearing on contraception.
Of course she did.
And just earlier, I convened a hearing in my office on Jimmy John's sandwiches. It was attended by multiple persons. And do we have the right to roast beef?
No, but Obamacare might provide it. Who knows?
Man, with all the labels being thrown around, I could be, a lunchtime activist. I am protecting the rights of the hungry. It's just so silly. And we talked about Rush Limbaugh, and I said, the things he said were inappropriate.
Yeah.
He issued an apology. It's a really good apology.
Yeah, extremely.
This is how an apology ought to be said. It is unlike the apology of the two guys that wrote a journal article in the Journal of Medical Ethics in the UK where they said, oh, yeah, we're not sorry for what we wrote. We're just saying sorry because you're making us. You know, it's like OJ when he got caught, holding people against their will in a hotel room and stealing their stuff. And then he got caught and they're like, you're going to jail. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was wrong. Really?
Yeah.
You didn't know holding people at gunpoint and stealing their things was wrong?
You know who that sounds like?
Then you should have been in jail a long time ago.
That sounds like my 13-year-old's logic. I didn't know it was wrong. Oh, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm going to say I'm sorry because I don't want you to take my computer.
Here's the thing. I can imagine Lincoln at some point being like, I didn't know that was wrong. Really? Punching your sister? You didn't know that was wrong?
Oh, yeah. It'll happen. Just
Interesting.
wait. Just wait.
But listen to Rush. Against my own instincts, against my own knowledge, against everything I know to be right and wrong, I descended to the left's level when I used those two words to describe Sandra Fluke. I became like them, and I feel very badly about that. Nevertheless, those two words were inappropriate. They were uncalled for. They distracted from the point that I was actually trying to make. And I, again, sincerely apologize to Miss Fluke for using those two words to describe her. That's a very nice apology.
Contrition. I mean, it sounds like being truly sorry.
But he talks about stooping to the left's level, and I was watching Andrew Breitbart for not long ago. I mean, it was, I think, 2 days before he passed away.
Yeah.
And he said that people keep telling him, stop retweeting the stuff the left says about you. It's inappropriate to then post those words and those things. And he goes, I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep doing it because people need to understand the name-calling, the vitriol, the hate that the left spews. They're the least tolerant of all groups, is the liberal left. The liberal left is the least tolerant group out there. And that's what Rush was talking about. But I really do appreciate his apology. I feel good about it. In fact, we've not talked with Warren about it. We've recorded it. It's going to air on Monday. So you're listening on Friday. This coming Monday, we're going to talk about Rush Limbaugh, and we're going to talk about reproductive rights.
Well, hey, let me read one more paragraph that's in this story, Ryan. A lot of advertisers have left Rush's show and said we're not going to support the show anymore, the Rush Limbaugh show, because of what it said.
Yeah.
It says one company, Carbonite, abandoned Rush's show out of indignation over this. But Carbonite is also a sponsor of the Ed Schultz show, and Ed Schultz once called Laura Ingraham a conservative. That same really bad word.
He called her a slut.
Yeah, and so a double standard there.
Yeah,
it's a huge double standard, and it's always been a double standard. It's always been a double standard. But this is the other thing too. If you are going to speak up, if you are going to stand out, you will get your names called. That's just what happens. If you're going to stand for anything, somebody will call you a name. And again, America, land of the free, home of the brave. If you're going to stand up, stand up. You're going to wear big boy pants, wear big boy pants. I don't understand this. Oh, no, they made fun of me. They called me names. Yeah, okay. So what?
If you're going to put yourself in the public eye, you've got to expect. I mean, you've experienced that.
Yeah.
You're in the public eye.
I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago, and they had to let someone go in their office. And he's going to say really bad things about me. And I was like, so? You know what I hearken back to, Toben?
Tell me.
I hearken back to the movie Roadhouse.
Really?
That's right.
Are you a Swayze fan?
I am crazy for Swayze. Yeah.
Excellent.
Cool.
Producer Whitney is now giving me I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this. Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse was a cooler. Supposed to calm the situation down. And he was trying to explain to the rest of the bouncers that you need to be nice. And one guy goes, what if they call my mama a whore? And he goes, well, is she? So, just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. It's okay. People call names. So what? It's all right. They say a lot of bad things.
May I read some of the fan mail I got this week?
Yeah.
Speaking of liberal tolerance, I was on a secular radio interview, and I was being interviewed about traditional marriage. And here's one of the emails I got, and it was unsigned. It said, I'm getting so sick of you religious hypocrites. You're a snake oil salesman making money off fear-mongering, a conservative screaming about morals and government and overreach. Get out of my bedroom and stay out of my sexuality. You're giving Christians a bad name, and you make Christians look like nut jobs. Keep your ideology out of our government. Interesting, because Christian ideology is in our Constitution. But anyway, people People like you perpetuate the divisiveness in our country. Go get a real job. I was on.
Thanks for signing your name.
Yeah, and I wrote.
You coward!
I wrote back, hello, anonymous person who did not sign your name. Thanks for emailing me. I'm sorry that you think badly of me, even though you don't even know me. That's okay. Anyway, I go on and I give a really sweet letter. I believe it's pretty sweet. But I was on a show the other day called the Tom Hartman Show on Air America, and anyway. After the intro, and it was about Richard Dawkins and Does God Exist, all of a sudden he slammed into me and was just, without even taking a breath, every diatribe you can think of. Christians are ignorant. Most Christians probably haven't even graduated high school. And so, I was
wow.
I was very proactive.
Where are you pulling those facts from, sir?
Oh, yeah, it was just complete ad hominem. Anyway, I get an email, and I held my own, and I got in there, and, I was diplomatic but pretty firm. Somebody emailed me and said, Alex, I'm an atheist, but yet I want to say that you were such a gentleman. You made your points. I want to say how embarrassed I was by Tom Hartman's treatment of you.
Yeah.
But this thing of the tolerance of the left. Let me say one last thing. I was on FoxNews.com a few months ago, and there's a lady named Ellen Ratner. And she's a lesbian activist, actually a very interesting person to talk to. But
does she have a degree in women's studies?
I don't know. And to her credit, let me say this: she helps raise money and send food to countries that have starving people, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And I applaud her for that. But she is, pro-gay rights. She's been very vocal in her opposition to defense of traditional marriage. Well, anyway, you'll appreciate this. We're on FoxNews.com live, and Lauren Green introduced Ellen Ratner and gave her point, and they segued to me, and Lauren said, Alex is an author and a speaker, and prior to working for North Greenville University, was at Focus on the Family with James Dobb. And Ellen Ratner on Fox News Live, you can probably Google this, she goes, whack job. Now, she had just been giving this 5-minute thing on tolerance and and I looked,
please send that clip. We're gonna find that clip. Producer, you've got to find it.
And so I looked at her, and she'd never met, and I said, well, you're gonna love this, Ms. Ratner. I earned my master's degree at Liberty University under Jerry, and before I could get Falwell out, literally she got out of her chair and stormed away from the desk.
What?
We're in New York City at Fox News, and she was waving her hands in the air, and she was off mic, and she was going, whack job, pointing at me, simply by two names.
How old is she?
I would say she's
14.
60.
Oh, sorry.
I've got
60.
I'll show you.
I would say 16. That sounds like...
And I was like, your love and tolerance touches my heart.
Yes.
Did you say that?
Yeah. In fact, I've got a picture of her in my iPhone, and she's cutting her eyes at me like she wishes I would drop dead. Literally.
Yeah. That's just funny when you talk about tolerance and then you start calling somebody a whack job. You're like,
oh, I know, on live television. Can you believe that? On national media.
And then she stormed off.
Yeah. Now she came back. But
anyway, she did. She came back.
She came back.
Did you promise not to talk about whack jobs?
And we had a very cordial conversation, and after the thing, I got her on camcorder, and I was saying, hey, let me name some names. I just want to get your reaction. And so I said,
wait, she did that for you?
Yeah, off the interview. I mean, she's really kind of a fun person to talk to. And let me just say this: in engaging, clearly, there are probably a lot of Christians listening, and when politics comes up or worldview, I think the best approach to take, and I will tell you, Ryan and Toben, in 25 years of being a believer and 22 years of being in ministry, the best way, I think, is to make friends with unbelievers and not to be up in people's face, but try to not get angry and not return harshness for harshness. And we got to, hold our own and defend the faith. But with people like that, just kind of laugh it off.
Yeah.
And don't bite back.
Well, and I think that's what Rush is saying. I mean, he's saying, I stooped to their level. Yeah. I took that tactic. I was the one yelling, whack job, whack job. Yeah. And he recognized, rightfully so, that was the wrong approach to take and offered a very sincere apology, and I respect him for that.
Well, and again, I've talked with kids about this topic, and I say, I don't understand the hate. I don't understand the anger, the meanness, because that's funny.
Can you see her cutting her eye? This is after she came back to the desk, and she watched me.
She's rolling her eyes at you. Producer Whitney does that to me sometimes.
She's rolling her eyes at me like I'm some. And that was after she had.
Producer Whitney's doing that to me right now. Yeah.
Okay, but it was really funny.
Yeah, I talk to kids about this, and I say, if you met an adult, a grown man, I'm 41 years old, if I truly believed in Santa Claus, the existence of Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, you wouldn't be angry at me. You'd feel sorry for me. But atheists don't feel sorry for Christians. They're angry at them. Now, they would say, yeah, but people that believe in Santa Claus aren't trying to enact policy in support of Santa Claus. So I don't know, but I just think it's just so ridiculous. The hate is ridiculous. It's over the top. It's unnecessary. It is. Yeah. It's unnecessary. So the guy that you were on the radio with that was going off on a diatribe on you, were you in person?
No, it was by phone.
Yeah.
It was
Do you think you would have done the same thing if you would have been in the studio?
Yeah, I don't know. And let me say this: not all liberals and people on the left are that way. I was on the Alan Colmes show, and perfect gentleman, never been treated better than on the Alan Colmes show. And Alan Colmes from Liberal Land, that's his show. Yeah. But great. I mean, I've never been treated better, and so I don't want to generalize. No.
And again, because they were saying Obama should give back the money that Bill Maher has donated because he's a misogynist.
The $1 million.
Yeah. He plays a character, and that's who he is. Yeah. He's done stand-up, and he's written books, and he's got a program where that's what he's there for. That's why people tune in, so that he will go, crazy, and he'll yell at people, and he'll, put forth, kind of the extreme on either side. That's what they're doing. So they were saying, I don't know. I just
give the money back.
Yeah. So I've got stories that are related to each other. Energy Secretary Stephen Chu testified on Capitol Hill this week, talking about oil and talking about gas. National average for a gallon of gas is $3.73. This is what I understand. Why is gas more expensive in certain places? In California, they're paying $4.32 on average.
Oh, my goodness.
And that the possibility of a $5 gallon of gas is possible coming this summer.
Oh, you want to know where it's expensive?
New York.
Alaska. You know how much a gallon of gas costs in Alaska? Almost $9.
Now,
oh, my word.
What? No.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely.
No.
Yep.
Now, Alaska, it would be hard to get it there, as I'm guessing. That's why it's more. But in the United States,
and then they refine it, and
from
then
California to
New
New York, why would there be a difference in how much gas costs?
No, I've often wondered that. I was in Wisconsin.
Maybe is it taxes that California puts on gas? Is that why?
No, the reason is there are no refineries there, and so they have to get it from the oil fields to the refinery, and from the refinery back out to the gas stations.
Okay.
And so if you're far away from a refinery,
so theoretically,
that's what they will tell you.
If they're selling gas at a refinery to you, it ought to be $1 a gallon still.
Yeah, if you could go right to the source,
yeah,
you could probably get it for pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm. Producer Whitney says they're charging more because they can.
Yeah, for real. But, I read USA Today this week was saying that auto sales, in fact, SUVs and big American vehicles are up 16%. Mm-hmm. So it says high gas prices are not dissuading people from buying cars.
I'm taking an RV trip with my family.
Cool.
I'm a little nervous because we're going to California. So on average, $4.32, that's going to be an expensive trip. That's my guess. But anyway, Energy Secretary Stephen Chu was testifying on Capitol Hill this week, and the issue of rising gas prices came up. He was asked whether it was the goal of the Energy Department to lower gas prices, and he said no. The overall goal is to decrease our dependency on oil. No, it's not the Energy Department's job to lower gas prices. It's to lower the dependency on oil. He didn't say dependency on foreign oil.
I'm so glad you point that out.
Just oil.
I've got to update myself. It's not $9 a gallon. It's $6.50-ish.
Okay.
A gallon. Sorry.
That's still a lot.
And, $6.50. Oof.
Notice
I'd be driving those 3-cylinder Geo Metro. My friend Dean had one. He got 47 miles to the gallon.
You want to know something hilarious?
It's like driving a roller skate.
Whitney's going to look at me crazy because I'm taking it off topic. They are selling like hotcakes on Auto Trader and
Geo Metros?
eBay.
Yeah,
I
really?
mean, Geo Metro is the it car because they
Yes.
get 47 miles a gallon,
I can
and they
see
go
that.
47 miles an hour. So
Yeah.
And, they had a convertible, too, the little Geo Metro convertible.
they did
Very cool.
Whitney says you also can't go over 45 miles an hour in a metro.
exactly.
Come on.
I'm glad you pointed out it says the overall goal is to decrease our dependency on oil. It doesn't say decrease our dependency on foreign oil. Because as you both know, and as I, a former resident of Colorado, know, that under this very state, I have two geologist friends in this state that would tell you there is more oil under Colorado than is in Saudi Arabia. But a lot of it can't be some of it is in shale, and extracting oil from shale is a very costly thing. But most of the reason that we don't tap our own in the Gulf, in Alaska, and in the western states is due to the EPA.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I
yes.
had a conversation with one of our therapists whose family is from Alaska. She's extremely liberal. And we were talking about oil and oil prices and gas prices. And she's like, why don't we drill in Anwar? I said, wait a minute. You're advocating that? She said, have you been up there? She said, I've been there. There's nothing there. They think it's going to mess up the ecology of Anwar?
Yes, if it did so.
It's 600 miles above the Arctic Circle.
Well, and again,
nobody cares.
Here's the thing,
Go
too.
drill.
You've got a ton of people who are atheist evolutionists.
Yeah.
Who are concerned about lower species and protecting and saving lower species.
Yeah.
I don't understand that mentality. If you believe in the survival of the fittest and the strong rule, then you shouldn't worry about a field mouse or an owl or anything else. You should worry about you.
Did we talk about the Obama administration, the killing of the one group of
Yes.
owls to protect the other group of
Yes.
owls? That was my
Yes.
favorite.
I hadn't heard that.
In relation to gas prices, Chevy is suspending production of the Volt.
Woohoo!
They were hoping to sell 45,000 Volts this year, but they sold just over 1,600 in January and February. At that pace, they will sell fewer than 10,000 of the electric gas hybrids.
Do you know why? Do you know how much a Chevy Volt costs? When I read this, my jaw dropped.
$40,000 starting price.
$40,000 for a Chevy Volt. Have you seen a Chevy Volt?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Nissan has an all-electric car too. The
Leaf.
The Leaf. It's $38,000, and the range is like 95 miles.
Right. Does it have a gas engine that kicks in?
No,
at the end?
it's
Okay.
all electric.
The Leaf is
The Leaf.
The Volt has a gas engine that'll kick in.
And let me say, hey, wanting to keep the environment clean, that's a noble aspiration. But I don't know about you. I mean, most of the places I go are farther than 100 miles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not for me, because I just live down the street. But yeah, you couldn't do that, Toben.
I could not
and
drive.
neither could Bruce or Whitney.
Technically, I could not drive a Chevy Volt without using the gasoline engine portion of that because of my commute.
Yeah.
But I have a Ford Focus that gets 35 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
And I paid.
And how much is a Ford Focus?
I paid $9,000 for mine.
There you go. So even at $5 a gallon,
Yeah. I could drive for like 7 years.
yeah, $31,000.
Yeah.
It's gonna buy you lots of gas.
Yeah.
Down in North Carolina,
It's nice too.
It's pretty good. It's
Yeah.
a good little car.
we have a college called NC State, renowned for their engineering
course.
school, and they're a lot of engineers, geologists, and scientists come out of NC State. So I'm talking to this guy, and I said, what about China? And by 2020, 1 billion Chinese will have cars. And this is what one guy said to me. He said, at present rates of consumption, he said, and this is based on the people that believe all the oil fields came from evolution and it's a finite amount of oil. At present rates of consumption, we've got enough oil for 200 years. He said, however, many people and a lot of scientists who are Christians who don't necessarily believe the evolutionary paradigm and believe that, and there is evidence, by the way, the oil fields beneath the surface of the earth are replenishing themselves and filling up, and new oil fields are being discovered. At any rate, there's more oil than people often assume. They come to the table with this finite pie mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've got to live these government-controlled, truncated lives, and we've all got to go green to an extreme socialistic degree. And let me say, I don't want to get us off topic, Ryan, but a lot of the
This is topic.
a lot of environmentalism is not about the environment.
Yeah.
It's about government.
Yeah.
And it's about really the slow incremental erosion of democracy and the ushering in of socialism.
Well, here's one that'll turn your...
Well, hang on. Let me just finish with the Volt, because Obama was talking about the Volt and made a joke in his support of it, saying, "Oh yeah, I'd totally buy a Volt in 5 years." Meaning, the president gets driven everywhere. I don't need a car right now.
In a non-electric limousine.
Exactly. They don't make the Volt limo. So he was insinuating, I'll be in office for I'm gonna win another term, but saying, "Oh, I totally believe in the Volt. I'll get one in 5 years," does not help the 1,300 employees that are getting laid off because of this. It doesn't help anybody. It's in fact, it's a bit cruel. Saying, "Well, I could help you. I'm just not going to."
Well, not only that, but I think we talked about this before the show started. The government actually pays a $10,000 tax credit.
Yeah.
It was $7,500 if you buy an electric vehicle.
A subsidy.
So we're subsidizing.
No, it's still $7,500, but Obama was proposing increasing the subsidy to $10,000. That's 25%.
Yeah.
And remember, part of the reason that millions of dollars were kicked into General Motors was ostensibly for the creation of and preservation of jobs.
Yeah. So they're not only going after oil, they're going after coal. 2 power companies last week said they're shutting down 9 coal-fired electricity plants. Both companies blamed EPA regulations for those closures.
So where are they getting the electricity from then?
They are going to use it from other plants, and guess what happens? Guess what happens to power
prices rise.
They skyrocket.
Yeah.
Because they're having to create more power at fewer plants, and they just pass the cost on to the consumer. They're saying the EPA has made it impossible for us to do business. We're going to shut these 9 plants down, and you're going to pay the piper for that.
What a bummer.
And like in California, there'll be power failures and these rolling grid outages. Do you remember all that?
Yes, I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. It was crazy.
These rolling blackouts.
Yeah, and they wouldn't tell you when it was coming. We were in I was in one of the big box stores. It was like a Home Depot.
And the power just went out?
Yep, just walking around in the zoop, darkness. And then everybody had to leave, and the stuff that you wanted to buy, you couldn't. That was it.
That's like Africa. I've been to Africa a number of times, and I was in Zambia, and they do that in Zambia because they simply don't have the infrastructure for all the electricity they need. And so you can be like out somewhere, and Lusaka, Zambia, the capital, is not a very modernized city anyway. But it's like, blink, sorry, it's power's out until further notice.
Yeah.
And it might be 15 minutes, it might be 3 hours.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting to me. Michael Brune, executive director of Sierra Club, hailed the closures as a giant leap in our work to move America beyond coal. That almost is the exact language of saying move America beyond oil, right? I mean, that is deep in the psyche of people that are on that side of the issue.
I don't know what you say about that.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I look at that stuff and it's like, well, we're going to move you
What are we
beyond.
going to do if we don't have coal and we don't have oil? Wind isn't going to get it done. Solar's not going to get it done.
Well, I think advances in technology, solar will be able to get it done at some point.
At what point, though?
I think it's at the point where geothermal cooling and heating becomes ubiquitous. When they start making houses where, when you want to cool your home, you're only moving it 2, 3, 4 degrees instead of having to move it, 15, 20 degrees either way.
Yeah.
You'll be able to get a lot more done with that. But you shouldn't force that on people. You're a car guy, Alex. I'm a car guy. I got a 1949 Chevy, and I got a 1965 van. I'm not going to move those to electric. I like the sound.
Yeah.
When I started building those vehicles, people, my friend that I built it with, he said, "What do you want from this?" From the get-go, we don't want to build a car that you don't want.
Yeah.
Let's build a car you do. And I had 3 things, but I can only think of 2 now. It needs to sound like a hot rod.
Yeah.
Okay, I put cherry bomb mufflers on it because it sounds like a hot rod. You got that deep, throaty rumble. That's what I want. I want it to sound like that. And
Cherry bomb muffler's way cool.
When I stomp on the gas, the tire should spin.
So you put put a good intake and a Holley 4-barrel on it.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, I know. Why
But-
should we move away from fossil fuels? Because they're not. I don't believe they're even fossil fuels. They're coal and oil. But yeah, let me say this. This relates to something else called the mineral rights to property. When you buy a piece of land, you, the landowner, have the right to sell what's underneath the ground. Well, there's a move afoot, and already in a way, states by eminent domain and the federal government by eminent domain could take away your mineral rights. But folks, the summary is,
See, if you
there's
did
so
that, you
much
couldn't
at
have a
play
TV
here.
show, The Beverly Hillbillies.
I know. Jed would not have done anything with that oil.
Wouldn't have loaded off the truck and
I
moved
have
to Beverly.
now tied into our This Week in Politics, The Beverly Hillbillies and Roadhouse.
Then one day he
Brilliant.
was shooting at some food, and up through the ground came bubbling crude.
That's right.
It makes me tear up just to hear you say it. It's so beautiful.
It is. I love America.
You know what, though? I think states are going to go after mineral rights. I think what's going to happen
Of course.
is it won't be long before state legislatures start to enact policy that allows them to go after the mineral rights of people that own that property because
Imagine if they
the revenue
found
is there.
oil or some kind of mineral in a property near yours, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to dig up your land." But excuse me, what?
That's already happening at certain places in the U.S. That's already happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That TV show Prank 316 tried to pull that on me.
Oh, seriously?
I pulled a gun on him instead. It was like the Christian version of Punk'd.
Okay.
Eh.
Did that
You
ever
can look
make
it
it
up on
on the
YouTube.
air? You
Okay,
pulling
cool.
a gun on the...
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Nice.
It was
I'm
great
gonna go
because
look
all
that
these
up.
guys are from California, so they're not used to guns, and I've grown up with guns, and I got tipped off they were going to do this ahead of time.
Oh, wow.
So they came with like they came and said there was like in-ground arsenic or something. So they had dogs that were sniffing, and they had tractors, and they're claiming they're going to dig my land up. And I was like, no, you're not. And they're like, no, we are.
Now, did you know that you were being punked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had
Did they know that you knew?
no, they had no idea.
Oh, wow.
So
Brilliant.
I had guns in waiting.
Cool.
And the look on people's faces when you pull a gun out is hilarious. Hilarious.
Wow,
So
we're going
then-
to get some mail
And they
about
were
that.
really bummed because I know this was one of their bigger budget pranks they were going to do.
Yeah.
And I had a camera crew inside filming them from my point of view because I thought that was funny too. And then afterwards, we're standing around, and I remember someone going, "Are those real guns?" And my friend Jonathan goes, "Let's just say yes." And then the question came back, why do you need so many guns? And my response was, why don't you need so many guns?
Amen.
Say
brother.
hello to my little friend.
Oh, yeah. I think we brought out an AK, and we brought a bunch of Glocks. And
Wow.
oh, yeah, it was great. It was great.
You want to shift topics?
Yeah, let's...
You want to talk about Israel?
Well, let me conclude with one very politically
Okay.
incorrect. We are not running out of oil.
No.
And that is an FACT fact. The world is not running out of oil.
All right.
It's just that we can't access it because of funky environmental laws.
Yeah.
And let me just say
Build
this
that
about,
pipeline. I love that. Why don't we drill in Anwar?
There's nothing up
what?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I mean, you and I have talked about this therapist. You
Yes,
know
yes.
who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And for her to say, go drill, man. There's
Yeah.
nothing up. It's 600 miles above the Arctic Circle. There's literally nothing there.
It's a rock.
It's a rock.
Yeah.
Go drill.
What if there's some algae that...
She's like, the animals would be so happy to have the warmth generated by a pipeline available to them. She said it would become an eco-friendly zone around the pipeline.
There you go. That's the new argument. We should drill because it will become eco-friendly. Drilling for oil is eco-friendly.
She said it would generate plant life. She said it would generate animal life. She said for the migration patterns it would be healthy. So she was all for it,
Wow.
which my jaw literally was on the floor.
But you know,
because-
whether it's the Energy Department or
Yeah.
the Department of Defense or the U.S. Supreme Court justices, I mean, we want our officials to act in the interest of the American people.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, I
To
don't think so.
act have policies and positions that are in the best interests of the American people and in line with our Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue that the EPA and many others have not done that in recent years.
Let's talk about voting, Alex, because you've got a voter guide, and that's amazing. And Toben, you've got a story on voter fraud.
Yeah, this is my favorite. We talked about this on, I think, a Feed and Stream maybe a week ago or a couple of weeks ago about how there's 1.8 million dead people registered to vote. And Republicans are wanting to clean that up and say we need to go to the voter records. We need to enact an ID-based system that people have to present an ID when they vote in order to avoid
again,
voter
with
fraud.
the people screaming that they have to produce ID to do something. I don't understand this.
Well, it's been ruled by 2 state Supreme Courts, not the Supreme Court, but 2 state Supreme Courts, that it is not discriminatory to require somebody to present a photo ID in order to vote.
No,
because
you have
people
to do
are
a
saying,
photo ID to use a credit card.
People are saying this will suppress...
And that's not a law. That's just retail shops saying you have to, and we won't serve you unless you do.
The left is saying that it will suppress minority voting if you require voter ID. And the strange thing about that...
Tell me why, though. Why will it suppress minority voting if you have to have an ID? Because you don't have one? Well, then go get one. I mean, I don't understand this. For some reason, minorities are afraid... And I'm not saying this, but they're saying minorities are afraid of identification? How does this suppress minority voting? Are they suppressing illegal aliens from voting? Well, then yes, you should stop that. If you're not from America, then you shouldn't be voting.
Well,
this is so dumb.
Here's a great quote. Despite the claims of the plaintiff's lawyers that there were hundreds of thousands of Georgia voters who did not have photo IDs and could not obtain one over the course of the next 2 years of litigation, they were unable to produce a single voter who was disenfranchised by the Georgia law.
Huh.
And that year, voter turnout among minorities was higher than it had ever been. So they said, you have to present an ID. Georgia liberals said, boy, you're going to disenfranchise voters and you're going to kill minority voting. Guess what? It actually went up the year that went into place. It's a crazy issue.
Honestly, anybody within listening distance of the program, tell me how making people present IDs is going to stop voting.
Guys, I'm just bubbling over with stuff that I want to interject here. And let me say for the record, we are not against minorities and immigration, provided people use the legal channels to assimilate, become citizens, follow the laws. In my home state of North Carolina, the Democrats vehemently fought and successfully fought that you have to show an ID to vote. And in the 2008 presidential election...
Alex, why? What's their argument?
Because they said it would be discriminatory.
How?
And I'm like, yes, it is. We do. For the record, we want to discriminate against people that aren't registered to voting. Mm-hmm. And if you're an American conservative and you're not registered to vote, you shouldn't be allowed to fly under the radar. We should want to discriminate against non-citizens voting. And in Guilford County, where I currently live, it was documented, this was in the paper, one man, just to see if he could, honest to goodness, voted 71 times in the 2008 election.
Yeah.
So, the old saying that, liberals vote early and often.
Yeah.
Let me say this. We need just to have fair and free and accurate elections. I was in Amsterdam, and a guy said to me, a guy from Egypt, he said, you guys can know who got elected moments after the election. Where I come from in the Middle East, we can know who gets elected 6 months before the election. Let me say this, that I think the liberals know that illegal, fraudulent voting goes on, and they like it that way.
Yeah.
They like it that way. I've got another topic on this administration's Justice Department interaction regarding illegal aliens. But I think it's appropriate that people should be able to show a photo ID, or should be required, rather, to show a photo ID in order to vote.
Well, it only makes sense. I mean, if the voter rolls were completely clean, that's a different issue. But you've got 1.8 million people who are dead that are still registered to vote. You've got 2.8 million that are registered to vote in multiple states. The voter rolls are a mess. So to clean it up, by saying, hey, we want you to present an ID is brilliant. That's the simplest way to clean up what is essentially a crazy corrupt database.
I look at this and I'm like, well, then I shouldn't have to have ID to go get my driver's license.
Right.
It's going to prohibit people from getting their license.
If you don't have a license.
If you don't have an ID of some kind.
Yeah.
Proof of identification. Well, then you should have to show an ID for a credit card.
Yeah.
Because you're prohibiting people from using credit cards.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the argument. It's a really dumb argument.
Well, and it's the thing I don't understand is it's so easy to get an ID. I mean, Joanne is not able to drive anymore, so we had to go get her an official Colorado ID because she can't use her insurance services without ID.
Yeah.
And it took 5 minutes.
How much did it cost you?
It didn't cost us anything, I don't think. We maybe paid $5. I mean, it literally was a 5-minute process. We wheeled her in there. She stood in front of the curtain. They took her picture. They gave her the ID. And so I don't understand how that disenfranchises a people group when it's really that simple to do. What am I missing? Because I feel like I must be missing something, because a lot of people are jumping up and down saying, hey, minorities are not going to vote if you do this. I just don't get it, because getting an ID is not difficult as far as I can tell.
Well, it's difficult if you're not from here, apparently.
Huh. Interesting point, Ryan.
I don't know. It's just so silly.
But, it's a privilege to live and interact within America. And there are rules, there are boundaries, there are parameters. And I don't think it's discriminatory at all to ask people to act within the law.
But what you said is very important. It's a right. It's not a right. It's a privilege.
It is a privilege.
And we treat it on some planes and in some venues as a right.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Like reproductive rights.
Oh, jeez.
Well,
talk about your voter guide, Alex.
Oh, well, thanks, Ryan. I wrote this thing. It says Christians and Voting, the Bible and Citizenship. And if you go to my website, which is alexmcfarland.com, I will send you 100 of these for free. And the reason I wrote this is because I'm traveling the country, and, I'm an apologist, evangelist, speak to a lot of teens, but I cannot help but speak to some political issues. And by the way, that's why I applaud you and your dad, and you're courageously on the front lines of battling for the soul of this nation, Ryan. And God bless you for the courage and the stances you take. And I'm speaking about some things. And so I'm in all these churches, and people are saying, Alex, you're a minister. Don't talk about politics. Separation of church and state. And
people are saying that to you?
Oh, yeah, in churches.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, and my goodness. Last May, I was in a church speaking Sunday through Wednesday at a church. In this morning service, I just mentioned a few issues about how our biblical worldview should inform how we live, how we act, how we vote. Oh, and my goodness, this person chewed me out in a church lobby. And I said, no, wait a minute. Where does it say that Christians shouldn't be involved in the electoral process? And, when you look at our founding fathers, Christianity was a part of their worldview. Of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, a number of the 56 signers were ordained ministers. So I wrote this voter guide, and I address 6 myths. And also, I really, kind of give a hand slap to the church when, in the last election, the presidential election of 2008, think about this, folks. 173 million Americans identify themselves as Christians. That's 85% of the population. 173 million. USA Today documents this, and a study out of Hartford, Connecticut, the American Religious Identification Survey, ARIS. 173 million Americans identify themselves as Christians. In the 2008 election, less than 1/3 were even registered to vote. And I've got one statistic from last week. Out of those that are gay, lesbian, transgender activist level, 7 out of 8 are registered to vote and vote. We stink. I mean, I want to say this, folks. If we lose democracy, if we become a socialist, workers' paradise, anti-God socialist utopia, do not complain.
Right.
If you as a Christian were not registered to vote, informed on the issues. And so I've got things here. Should all Christians be eligible? Should all Christians who are eligible to vote make the effort to do so? Yes. Are Christians to keep their faith and their politics separate? What does the Bible say about voting? What about separation of church and state? Now, point 6 on my voter guide, my, quote, perfect candidate isn't the nominee, so I'm just not going to vote. Friends, we have an opportunity every November to do what other countries in the world, they longingly look at us in awe and wish they could cast a ballot.
Well, and they've laid down their lives for the right to do that.
Exactly. Right. So I say, do you care enough about America to get involved? Go to my website. I want to send you 100 of these for free, folks. Give them out in your church.
We've got the link, but if you don't want to go to groundradio.com, it's project2026.com. And that's the numbers 2026, or you can go to alexmcfarland.com. And again, groundradio.com will have all that information.
God bless you.
Alex, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Ryan, you're the man.
Have a, just come back.
Well,
I was going to say have a great weekend, but it's not the weekend yet. So,
hey,
it is the weekend. It's Friday. I got
free for all Friday.
Here's my problem. I was sick. It takes me months to figure out what day it is. If I don't go a 5-day work week and then a weekend, if I miss anything in between there, it's weeks before I know what day it is.
Yeah.
My brain has a difficult time.
Maybe you should write it on your hand.
What day it is?
Yeah.
I'd have to remember what day it is. I'll look at my iPhone. Oh, Siri. Siri will tell me, what day is it? Are you stupid, Brian? Yes, I am, Siri.
Someday, I want to come back and let's do a show about cars, and we'll talk about Cobras.
Oh, Ford Cobra?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Got to meet Carol Shelby one time.
That'd be a good time. All right, thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, brother.
Tobin, thank you.
You're welcome.
Producer Whitney, sorry for not moving on as quickly as I should have at times, but that's what happens on Fridays. Everybody have a great weekend. Come back on Monday for World Magazine Monday with Warren Cole Smith. We'll see you then.